Hey everybody, welcome back to another Sons of Cinema review. My name is Ron, and today's review will be on the 2006 horror movie Hoboken Hollow. This movie is an hour and 38 minutes long. It's currently on Tubi and YouTube if you want to check it out. So let's get into the story. Like always, spoilers. Real quick, so this movie is based off true events, and it's based off the Texas slave ranch in Mountain Home, Texas. And this ranch would pick up like hitchhikers, homeless people, immigrants to take to their ranch, and they'll make them do a lot of woodwork and mostly making cedar keychains that were like sold throughout Texas in 1984. The only reason they got caught was because one of the one of the slaves basically was let go on a coin flip. So I think maybe the foreman or somebody flipped the coin, just, fucking with him. And he ended up letting him go. And the guy ratted everybody out. And, from there, they all got arrested. So in the movie, it starts off with like a scene where a hitchhiker is getting picked up in a van, and then we see in a title sequence with credits, beginning credits rolling, he's getting turned into jerky. So they've killed the guy, and they're slicing him and making beef jerky out of his body. And during that time, we've got that scene as well as two other people that have escaped from the ranch who are running. So they're kind of going back and forth during this opening sequence. And the two guys end up getting captured and killed. And then from there, we switch to a scene where we meet Trevor, who's this ex-U.S. Army Ranger who lost his buddy in Iraq. And when he came back from the war, he lost his wife, and he decided to go west, and he's headed to California. So once we've met him really quickly, we move on to meeting the sheriff, who is Dennis Hopper, and he ends up picking up a hitchhiker who's just passing through. It looks like he's kind of aware of things that are going on because he wants to make sure that the guy gets out of his town safely. So he picks him up, and then we go to another scene where we meet Michael Madsen, who goes to this general store where we meet Lynn Shay, who owns the store, and she's the matriarch of this this slave ranch, the ranch, and she owns this general store, and Michael Madsen, his character's name is JT. He wants to purchase purchase her ranch so that he can get the state fish hatchery rights, and obviously that'll make him super rich. So that's kind of his whole story in the movie, is trying to get a bunch of different ranches and buy ranches and stores and things like that. So he owns all the property around these lakes. And then we kind of go back to Dennis Hopper, the sheriff, who drops off this transient on the road and is like, all right, have a good one. Just, keep going that way. And as soon as he drives off, then the hitchhiker gets ran over by Mark Holden, who you guys would know as Ozzy from the Leprechaun franchise. He was Chubby in Teen Wolf. His character's name in this movie is Weldon, and he is the oldest son of Lynn Shay, so he's the son of the person that owns the ranch. Then we get another scene where they pick up some more hitchhikers, and we see the process and how they bring them to the ranch, and how they show them their living quarters, which are total shit, but they decide to stay and work anyway. They're talking about they don't get fed unless they work, so they need to work off their stay there. And they're also explained the rules, which the rules are: do what you're told when you're told, and do it correctly and do it quickly and never question anything. Because these guys, they love to cattle prod people. That's what they do throughout the whole movie. Is just cattle prod the fuck out of people when they get out of line. So the rules are explained, and one of the guys that just got there, the foreman, who is C. Thomas Howell, he actually pulls his gold tooth out of his face, but the guys are trapped here by this time, so they can't go anywhere. So they pull out this guy's gold tooth. Then we've finally got back to Trevor, who's the Army Ranger, and he gets picked up on the roadside to come to this home. And they tell him, well, you can stay for a couple days and you can work it off, and then you can head on out. And it's funny because as soon as he gets there, he's like, he's smart as hell. He's like, once he sees Mark Holden, his character Weldon, he's like, nah, fuck that. This ain't right. I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. Then it kind of turns into a whole thing because we'll get to that in a minute. But then basically we've got the actual flipping of the coin scene with C. Thomas Howell. Then it's kind of takes place during a torture scene that is really, really weird. It's like the weirdest thing they do in this torture scene is one guy pees and the other guy, one of the foremen pees in the eyes of one of the slave guys who's tried to escape. And there's this guy Andrew who's got one eye, and he's always trying to escape. So things that they do to punish him are like they'll hang him and let him sit on a stump, with his tiptoes for like days on end. The cattle prod the crap out of him. Anyway, in these torture scenes, it's really just the weirdest thing they do is pee in somebody's eyes, and they just kind of zap and cattle prod everybody just to mess with them. They do these torture scenes frequently to just for entertainment. There's a guy named Junior who's this big giant guy who's the main cattle prodding guy, and we get the next scene is like a rape scene, and let me explain that. So there is a woman that is a slave there, but she's married to a guy who's basically like one of the head slave guys there. He's right under the foreman, who's C. Thomas Howell. And so they both live there. They're not chained up. They know the rules. They don't run away. But Junior ends up raping her. So we're assuming that there's been probably quite a few rape scenes or rapings during her stay there. And then finally, when Trevor gets to the home, he immediately is caught. They inject him with something that it's almost like a heroin that just kind of subdues him. And then we've got him trying to escape for the last half of the movie, and he does things like hide in an outhouse shitter, like in the hole. He eventually gets caught again. I don't know what kind of Army Ranger he was, but he lets these hillbillies capture him again, and eventually he escapes one more time, and he actually runs away. He does a nice little ranger roll over this fence, and he finds Border Patrol, and he goes to them, and that is actually the way they portray the home getting found out, the ranch getting found out, and then they raid it and they arrest, and that's pretty much like the gist of the movie. There's some scenes where Michael Madsen, again, he wants the ranch, so he convinces C. Thomas Howell to kind of work for him and pays him and just gives him information, something he can use to purchase the property. And they end up, Weldon ends up finding out that C. Thomas Howell is betraying them, and they end up killing him. And then we kind of find out later on that Ozzy, he's got a scene where he actually lifts C. Thomas Howell up and like shoves him into the rafters, where there's like this spike in this barn, and it's kind of a weird thing. It's unnecessary, but whatever. anything to kind of spruce up these scenes. So then we find out Weldon is the jerky maker. He kills people and makes jerky. And it's funny in this movie, he makes everyone think that he's slow, but he's really not. He's been pretending, and he really pays attention, and he is smart. So he kind of caught on to C. Thomas Howell working with Michael Madsen, which doesn't work out. And then, we find out that the Brodricks were acquitted of all the murders. This is what it says at the end of this movie. It says that they were acquitted of all the murders because the evidence that was collected, they didn't have a warrant, so it was tainted, and they all got off. And in real life, the 3 people that were charged, 2 of them were acquitted, and C. Thomas Howell's character, the foreman of the ranch, he got 14 years but only served 3 years, and that is all they got out of it because there wasn't any kind of evidence. There were no bodies. Obviously, from what the movie portrays is that Ozzy was taking these bodies and making jerky out of them and, feeding the pigs the rest of the bodies. Remember, beware of any man who has a pig farm. So that's the gist of the story. So the things that I liked about it, Mark Holden's character, Weldon, he was awesome in this movie. He narrates the film as well, but he's definitely the best character in this movie. He's super, super intense and scary. And when we find out that he's not really slow and that he's actually, he knows exactly what he's doing there, it's kind of cool. We also, this cast is iconic, man. I mean, you've got Dennis Hopper from Texas Chainsaw 2 and a ton of other movies. You've got Mark Holden, who again was in Teen Wolf. He's in Leprechaun. He's iconic. C. Thomas Howell, he was in a couple awesome movies, The Outsiders and Soul Man. If you know what that movie is, you'll be laughing right now because I said that. But also Robert Carradine, who was in Revenge of the Nerds, iconic. He's got a small role that's so small I didn't even mention his character. He's apparently like a rancher that works on another ranch that likes getting wood from them, something. This also stars like Rudolph Martin. Now, he played Dracula in the year 2000 with this, it was a made-for-TV movie called The True Story of Dracula. And in that same year, he plays Dracula on Buffy the Vampire Slayer for the very first episode in season 5, which was cool because the movie had just come out, so they just used him. And he was a great Dracula. If you check him out, he's pretty cool. But you also have Lynn Shay. I mean, she's from Insidious 2 and 3. And she's been in a ton of movies. I love her in Kingpin. She's awesome. So those were the things I liked. The things I didn't like or did not like. Everything I had heard about this movie, I heard it was like super. I had read reviews and stuff, and it's super gory and it's just exploitative. And that's not the experience I had with this movie. This movie, except for the jerky scene, it wasn't gory at all. In fact, this movie was really like, it felt like an after school special at times. And if you want the truth, it feels like it's a cross between an after school special and like Texas Chainsaw Massacre light. This movie makes you want to believe it's like Texas Chainsaw, but it's nowhere near the impact, the scariness, the gore. Like I said, it just feels like an after-school special a lot of times. And a lot of the scenes, they don't connect, they don't flow. They're choppy and they're all over the place, and to the point where sometimes you're like, wait a minute, wasn't this character right here? Now all of a sudden he's doing this? What the fuck is going on? So it's not tight, it doesn't flow well. They leave you with a lot of questions because of that. The torture scenes are really weak. Like I said, I thought this was going to be like super gory. I mean, when you hear about Texas Slave Ranch, You're thinking there's going to be some major gore. Nah, they just, like I said, they cattle prodded the shit out of people, and there was really no great special effect to that. Um, I think they did shove the cattle prod in one person's mouth until his like eyes and ears bled, but that was about it. Um, so there's not any kind of suspense in here. There's not any kind of like mystery. Like everything's pretty much straight up as it is, except in the end when you find out that Lin Shay, who is the matriarch of the family, she basically does know everything that's going on there. And I forgot to mention at the very end, it's like almost like a post-credit thing, but Dennis Hopper drives up to the home with another transient and speaks to Lin Shay. They're cousins. So he's like, I got another one for you. So that's implying that the sheriff, Dennis Hopper, was actually bringing them transients and hitchhikers off the road to work there, and he was full aware of what was going on. The best scenes of this movie, like I said, the jerky scene, which is in the beginning, and that's really the most gore you get. Just somebody slicing meat and making jerky out of it. And then the torture scene, the pee in the eyes, I guess that was cool. It didn't really show much. It was kind of like, all right. The guy already had one eye that they peed in. He had one dead eye, so I don't know. The point of that, the torture scene was weak, like I said. And my final thoughts is like, there is some racist as fuck shit in this movie. Because one of the guys they pick up is a black dude, and he's not treated very well there. And the things they do to him, and every time somebody does something wrong in this movie, like there's a point where this gentleman does try to escape, and they capture him, and every time they recapture somebody, they just throw him in the well. So they throw him into like a deep well, and they end up staying there until they die. Anyway, if you're looking for a Texas Chainsaw after school special type of movie, this is the movie for you. This movie definitely wasn't for me. It's very tame. It's very underwhelming. It's not worth a watch, to be honest with you. I will never put this movie onto my shelf. Like I said, I had really high hopes for this movie because the premise sounds badass, right? Oh, Texas Slave Ranch. You're thinking instantly, all right, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And the way they describe it, it's like, ooh, this is going to be a really badass, sick movie. No, it's not. So anyway, there's my review. If y'all want to check it out, go right ahead. In the meantime, you guys, if you enjoyed these videos, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave me a message if you want me to do a review on a movie. And I'll see you all next time. So, peace.